It's so bad what Rodgers left behind him after 2 seasons with the Jets that even the PR campaign on our very own ESPN.com, as I read this story, as I read the stuff in The Athletic, they keep saying Rodgers had 6 wins in 18 starts. 6 wins in 18 starts over these past 2 years. Do you know what win they're counting?
The first.
What the hell are we doing? What are we – honestly, man, and I'm not even an Aaron Rodgers hater. I wish the best for the guy. Honestly, there were times in my life where I was cheering him on to victories, where I was like, oh, yeah, go. I like the way he plays. His style is fun to watch. They're giving him credit for a win where he played 4 snaps, and they were all pretty much negative. And then Zach Wilson steps in and wins that game. And to be honest with you, to be quite clear, didn't even feel like Zach Wilson won it as much as Josh Allen lost it. They're crediting Aaron Rodgers with that win. So 18 starts, 6 wins. The Jets trade away 6 picks to the Packers for 2 years of Aaron Rodgers, and all they have to show for it is 6 victories. And worst of all, C-Cat, they have disenfranchised the future of that team, which is a guy like Sauce Gardner, who regressed in his his first year playing with Aaron Rodgers, and Garrett Wilson, who has now been borderline demanding trades out of New York. This has been the single worst into a career that I can think of for any future Hall of Famer. And I'm not sure if you want to put this on the shoulders of the Jets. I'm not sure if you want to put the blame all on the shoulders of number 8 himself, Aaron Rodgers, because he's a guy that has shown time after time to take very little accountability for what happens for the team's success or even for his own, actions and stuff around the NFL. I'm not telling you who to put the blame on. I'm just giving you what the results were. And they were incredibly, just disheartening, deflating. If you're a Jets fan right now, you have to be in some way or form or fashion thinking, how did this go worse than I could have ever possibly conceived? Because even after the first year, everybody was like, okay, that was rock bottom. Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, 4 snaps in. It was only up from here, and somehow it got worse.
Got struck by lightning. Nothing could have avoided that Achilles from tearing on the 4th snap of the season. It's just a Jets fan getting unlucky once again.
And then they rebuilt the trenches. They got him another number 1 wide receiver and one of his former best friends in Devontae Adams. They had their little reunion picture. Remember their little coming out party on the Pat McAfee show where Devontae Adams is they had the cute little selfie on the screen. All of that was so fun. And again, it's going to sound like I might be an Aaron Rodgers hater, but all I'm doing is telling you the results of what has specifically happened because of him. Robert Saleh is probably a much better coach than he gets credit for. The fact that he was doing that much winning with the worst quarterback play in the NFL when Zach Wilson was his guy and they were winning 7 games year after year, and the fact that he was able to at least maintain in the year in which he thought he was going to have Rodgers and he goes down and you win 7 games again with Zach Wilson. To me, it's if you're the Jets, you most likely feel like you've been bamboozled and fooled. And when Aaron Glenn and the new GM walked in there this time around and there was a chance that Rodgers might stay for another year, it feels like maybe they were the guys with the only sense that hadn't been mesmerized by Rodgers and his camp and his PR campaign and said, there's no way in hell we're moving forward with this cancer. With this cancer attached to the organization. We need a breath of fresh air. We need a new laundry day. And it's time for us to go wear our favorite shirt. And sometimes your favorite shirt is whatever the hell is not that guy.
Yeah, that shirt's got a hole.
That shirt's got a hole in it. That shirt's got a big winding hole in it, similar to your nice orange Hawaiian shirt from yesterday. And sure, the Jets are going to have to eat some dead cap money, right? I think the number will be, $23.5 million against the books, since they're doing a post-June 1 thing. And I don't want to get into all the numbers and things. Remember, the Broncos just cut Russell Wilson and ate $50 million, and then they made the playoffs the next year. This is the best possible scenario for the Jets getting off of this Rodgers situation.
So the clear and obvious parallel that we thought 2 years ago when Aaron Rodgers went to New York to become a Jet, kind of an uglier departure from his previous organization, the Packers. People were thinking the ceiling of this, the best that this can end up being, is what we saw with Tom Brady and the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
So the 2 parties, Tom Brady, Buccaneers, Rodgers, Jets. Is it that the organization is that incapable? Is that dysfunctional? Jets versus Buccaneers? Or is it that quarterback is not the winner that Tom Brady was? That quarterback was not ready to adapt to this new organization like Tom Brady was? Are these two dependent variables? Which one went wrong to result in this catastrophe? Or was it both?
It's Rodgers. It's Rodgers, and the reason I can feel confident in saying that is because the writing has been on the wall the whole way through this process. He said the wrong things publicly all throughout this. This past offseason, when he had a chance to continue to build chemistry with Garrett Wilson, who he had not connected with in the NFL for a completed pass yet because of his 4 snaps and he was out, instead of doing that, he went on a vacation, right? And everybody excused it, right? And I said at that time, this is ridiculous because he's showing you he's not prioritizing winning. He's not prioritizing football. He's telling you he is, but then he's not doing it with his actions. Everybody excused it. He's a Hall of Fame quarterback. He doesn't need offseason reps. I said, okay, that's cool. That's fine. Then later on in the regular season, as things are going poorly and he's throwing game-losing interceptions, this same guy, Aaron Rodgers, throws another game-clinching interception in favor of the Vikings. And what does he do when he gets up to the podium right after the game? Blames Mike Williams. Points outward. Takes no accountability like he's done his whole career. And you can do some of that if you're Aaron Rodgers, if you're Ben Roethlisberger, 2 guys that are notorious for lacking accountability and blaming teammates. You can do that when you're in the prime of your career and when the juice is worth the squeeze. But he is no longer that guy. The Jets' offense ranked like 25th in the league. And if you tell me what went wrong, it's got to be the quarterback play because you had 2 number 1 receivers in Adams and Garrett Wilson. You had Allen Lazard, who is Aaron Rodgers' buddy. So you got a connective piece as well. And in the backfield, you got Breece Hall and a 20-year-old just tank. And what's Big Buddy's name? Allen? You know what I'm talking about. The number 20 for the, not 20, the backup running back, Braylon Allen out of Wisconsin. You have all of this offensive firepower around a future Hall of Famer, and it ends up you being a bottom 3rd offense in the league. That's got to go back to the offensive coordinator or the quarterback. And guess what? Both of them are Aaron Rodgers. He was to blame for the Jets' lack of success this year. And to me, that is inexcusable. That's inexcusable, and I don't think he took enough accountability for it, and that's why Aaron Glenn, when these new faces, these new brains walk into the Jets organization, it was a non-starter for them. Aaron Glenn ain't taking that head coaching job if it meant he also had to take on Aaron Rodgers.
So in hindsight, knowing that the Jets were moving on from Aaron Rodgers this offseason, and knowing that it probably had something to do with Aaron Glenn having a voice in that room, do you think the Jets were right in firing Rob Saleh very early in this season? Or should he have gotten another chance with the rebuild in the Jets?
I think it was unfair to fire Robert Saleh if acquiring Aaron Rodgers wasn't his doing, because you can tell that the past 2 years have been all dictated by what does number 8 want, what does number 8 need. This is what we're going to go out and execute. I think that was more of a Woody Johnson thing, maybe some Joe Douglas. I doubt it had a lot to do with what Saleh actually was trying to go out and execute. So he was unfairly fired, but then also I can't speak out of both sides of my mouth. Like, he also did not produce enough wins to stay on that long as a head coach in the National Football League. So it's a double-edged sword there. He was not the biggest issue. Right? When they fired Saleh, they only got worse this year. So I think the Jets needed a breath of fresh air, both at GM, at head coach, and at quarterback, and they got it. It was a disjointed process to get here. But the one thing that you brought in as the solution, quote unquote, was Aaron Rodgers, and he only created more problems for you, which is what blew the whole thing up. If they don't go get Aaron Rodgers, again, April 26, 2023, if you don't make that blockbuster deal with the Packers to get Rodgers so he can try to complete the Brett Favre experience, you probably still have Saleh as a head coach. You might have a new quarterback because you probably move on from Zach Wilson and maybe start fresh with a rookie, or maybe, I don't want to say Sam Darnold because, of course, that wouldn't work out, but a Baker Mayfield, Geno Smith-esque, Sam Darnold-esque guy, and Saleh's able to go get him a real offensive coordinator, not Nate Hackett, not a Rodgers lackey, but an actual guy that he feels like can execute an offense that complements his defense, and you're building something. So the Jets might look different. Either way, we're getting to the same point. New quarterback, new head coach, new offensive coordinator. And for the Jets, I feel like it's going to work out. For Aaron Rodgers, I think this is the end of the road.